Hello and welcome to the Land of Brand Laboratory. I am your host, Holly Chantal. I'm also your lead mad brand scientist because this is a laboratory and we meet every Wednesday, 12 o'clock Eastern time. It's a free webinar and we talk about different strategies, or as I like to call them, experiments in branding. So how do you create a brand that engages your audience, expresses your personality, and allows you to build the business of your dreams? And so that's what we're talking about every week, is giving you a different way to do that. And it's a community call, so we definitely want to hear from you, any questions that you have, any comments, any things you'd like to add to the topic. You can do that in the chat box on the side. And over this is the third week, we've been doing a series on your 2015 bucket list. And if you're not sure what a bucket list is, basically what it is your list of goals for the next year. And we don't call it goals or New Year's resolutions because a bucket list is way more fun. Bucket list traditionally is a list of things that you want to do before you die. I think that's too long. So these are the things that you want to do in the next year. And they can be business related, they don't have to be business related, but basically each week we're tackling kind of a different area of the bucket list as it would relate to your business. And you can also add fun things in there as well. So today we're talking about your marketing bucket list. So how to set marketing goals for the next year and then how to break those into kind of bite-sized pieces so you basically can eat your marketing pie. So let's go ahead and switch over to the presentation. And while I'm doing that, if you've been with us over the last couple weeks and are creating your bucket list, then I would love to hear kind of what's on your list so far. Do you need any help? Do you have any questions about what we've covered? Last week we talked about planning your offerings, and I'd love to hear kind of what you got going on. By now you should have about 50 items. We're looking to get a total of 100 by the end of the 4 weeks. All right, so today, how to plan your marketing for the next year and cut them into nom-nomable pieces. So our game plan is we're going to talk about delicious numbers, the recipe for reaching a big, hairy goal, and some sample bucket list items. And this is going to be a pretty short presentation. So let's go ahead and get started. So there is a right and wrong way to set marketing goals. Marketing goals are all about numbers, 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 numbers. Marketing goals are about numbers. You're assessing if you're reaching those goals in numbers. You don't want to set goals like I'm going to start sending a newsletter, or I'm going to start doing this, or I'm going to start being consistent at that. So I'm going to start blogging every week. I'm going to start podcasting every week, because the problem with that is when you're setting really long-term goals, one of two things happens. It's kind of like starting a diet. Either you fall off the wagon and you feel so guilty and you feel like you have to start all over again so you don't ever restart, or you don't start at all because you are afraid of falling off the wagon in the first place. So when you're setting goals that require a long-term commitment, it can be much harder for you to get started and to keep going. However, if you take those goals and instead you implement one piece at a time, you will do a couple things. One, you'll actually start. Two, you may find that you are going to start being consistent because you're going to start creating habits. And as you achieve those little bite-sized pieces, you're going to feel more accomplished and more excited and motivated to continue to move forward. So in order to set good marketing goals, you need to know the numbers. So it's time to put pen to paper, and we're going to set some real concrete goals. So as a coach, which most of you are, and this also applies to you if you are a solopreneur or any type of business owner, really, as long as you're running your business online, these should apply to you. You want to focus on your list size. How many subscribers do you want in the next year? So how many new subscribers, or how much of a total list do you want? Because that's actually two different things. Getting a new subscription and your total list, you might think that they're the same thing, but they're not. Because throughout the year, you will get a certain number of new subscribers, and you'll also have a certain number of people that unsubscribe from your list. So it's important to note the difference here, because your total list size may grow by 1,000, but your new subscribers may be 1,500 because you had 500 people unsubscribe throughout the year. So you want to take a look at that, and you may even break this into two different goals and have, I want this many new subscribers, and I want my unsubscribe rate to be 1% at the end of the year, something like that. You want to look at your social media. How many followers and how many connections do you want on each platform that you're using to market yourself? And we look at these individually because they all take different effort, they all take different activities, and they all will have a different impact on your business. And one of the neat things about doing this is that you can set goals for your marketing and how many subscribers and followers you want. And when you're measuring them by numbers, you start to see a pattern in what's effective and what's not effective. And at the end of the year, let's say you did achieve these goals, you could also take a look and see how much of an impact those different social media platforms are having on your business as a whole. So is it worth focusing on this in the next year? And that's really kind of the precept of the LOBoratory, is that we're setting these goals, we're creating projects to complete those goals, and then we're assessing what works, what didn't work, and what can be improved. So by setting these goals and tracking them, you're also doing yourself a service in that you have data to work with and figuring out what really works in your business. Partners, how many new joint venture partners do you want to make? How many new connections? How many people that if you were to launch a product in a couple months, you could get them to promote it for you? So how many new joint venture partners? And then other things would be community calls. Do you want to start a community call? So how many subscribers do you want by the end of the year? So obviously we have to keep this numbers related. How many shares do you want to have per blog post? How much do you want to have in monthly traffic? How many new visitors? Do you want to lower your bounce rate? All of those numbers that goes into analytics. So the goals, you want them to be easily measured. So those are the goals. And then we move on to the actual bucket list. So before we get to the bite-sized pieces, you first need to start with the projects. So how will you complete these goals? If your goal is to have 2,000 new subscribers by the end of next year, what projects will move you toward those goals? So you might have a blog and start sharing your blog once a week. You might reach out to a potential partner every day. You might put on events like telesummits, community calls. You might hire an assistant to take on some of the load. So these are all projects. They are not one-off items because, like I said, they take commitment. So sharing a blog once a week, that would be a project that you could work on that would help you move toward your marketing goals. So the kind of intangible pieces are what you're doing in order to reach your tangible goals. So what you want to do is set the goals first, then break down those goals into what projects would help you reach them. And then you take those projects and you break those projects down into to-do list items. Those to-do list items are great for your bucket list. So here are some examples of some non-nominable pieces. So these are pieces that, they're just bite-sized, they will keep you motivated, and they're things you can put on your bucket list because, we're trying to get to 100, so you're going to need a lot of little pieces, and you can cross them off as you go. The other neat thing, and I've said this before, is that when you put all of these, like you put your bucket list on your wall, maybe on a giant Post-it note or a giant poster, when you have a little downtime, you can look at it and it's almost like a menu of what could I do in the next 10 minutes that would help me reach that goal. Maybe it's you promote a blog post on your social media platforms. That could literally take 10 minutes and that's it. So you're keeping your goals front and center. You're keeping the tasks you need to complete those goals front and center, and it's going to make them easy to achieve. So let's look at some of these bite-sized pieces, which are basically examples of what you could be putting on your list. So promote one blog post in 5 places. Eat a candy bar each time you secure a new JV partner, as long as this doesn't conflict with your healthy eating goals. Start a podcast. Write a blog that incorporates a story about a beloved pet. Send your newsletter for 3 consecutive weeks. Interview a virtual assistant. So as you can see, these are all easily achieved. We're saying we're going to send our newsletter for 3 consecutive weeks. That's a bucket list item, not a long-term goal that you're going to continue to send that newsletter. We take your goals into small pieces. Because if I say I'm going to send 52 consecutive newsletters, once I've gotten 10 in and I skip one, I'm going to feel I'm going to have to start all over again, and that's just, that's too hard to have to start over again on 52. So keep it small, keep it 3. Keep it something that you know you can commit to. And you'll also notice that these are not all serious. They're not all going to move you forward. So eating a candy bar each time you secure a new JV partner is not necessarily going to move you toward that goal of the number of JV partners you want to have. But on the other hand, it might keep you motivated. It's fun. It's something you can cross off. Writing a blog post that incorporates a story about a beloved pet, that's just to kind of get your creative juices going. Again, to have fun. Your bucket list and your business should be fun. So that is just a quick presentation on how you can create your marketing goals, break them into projects, and break them into bite-sized bucket listable pieces. So if you have any questions about any of this or anything you'd like to add, or you would like to share your bucket list items, then you can type them into the chat. And while you're doing that, I'm going to introduce our topic for next week. So next week, we're going to have our final installation in the bucket list workshop series. And we're going to talk about your overall brand goals. So what goes into your brand and building visibility and building recognizability, memorability, standoutability, all of those things that go into your brand. What would be some goals? And then what are some projects and what are some bucket list items that would help you reach those goals? So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. By the next week, you should have 75 items on your bucket list. And then after we do that presentation, you can add the last 25. So at the end, we will have 100 items. And I hope you guys are enjoying this series. If you have any questions or any topics that you'd like to see, you can email Holly at The Land of Brand. I'm putting together a list for 2015 LOBoratory topics. So that is all I have for you today. I don't see any questions in the chat. So I'm going to bid you adieu. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week, and I will see you next Wednesday. Bye.